Hi, I'm Daniel Gold, and welcome to the Leadership Lab. By day, I'm a partner at BDO USA, but this podcast is my personal project, completely separate and apart from my day job, but reflect the same passion that I exhibit everywhere for teaching, mentoring, and helping others succeed through simple, impactful lessons. It is my hope that you'll walk away with practical takeaways to help you on your leadership journey. Thanks for being a part of this community and for joining me in the Leadership Lab. Let's get started. If you lost your title tomorrow, would your team still follow you? Now, that's not a trick question. It's the question every leader should be asking, especially in a world where AI can create better emails, it can summarize meetings better, analyze complex P&L statements, and even create your objectives and key results. The only thing it can't replicate, well, your ability to connect with another human being. That is emotional intelligence, and it might be worth more than your business degree. So let's break that down a little bit. And before we dive any deeper, let's define what exactly we're talking about. Emotional intelligence, or EI, or EQ, is the ability to recognize, to understand, and manage our own emotions while effectively acknowledging and responding to others' emotions. Psychologist Daniel Goleman pioneered this concept in his groundbreaking book in 1995 called Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. Now, Goleman was way ahead of his time, describing EQ, or again, emotional intelligence, as the quintessential leadership skill, and maybe the number one indicator of organizational success. So the work Goleman did then prepped us for today when we need emotional intelligence the most. In practical terms, emotional intelligence includes 4 core components. The first, self-awareness. Second, self-regulation. Third, empathy. And fourth, social skills. Now, here's why this matters more than ever in our AI-driven world. We're living through unprecedented time of artificial intelligence capability, yet employees are more disconnected than ever. And here's the paradox. As AI gets better at handling our technical tasks, the human need for genuine connection has skyrocketed. There was a survey performed by the company Workday, which revealed that 82% of employees now crave human connection at work more than ever. That's up from 60% I've always seen in previous studies. So as technology advances, our desire for genuine human connection grows stronger. So here's what I know from 2 decades in high-pressure legal technology and software environments. People don't leave their companies. They leave their managers. Let's talk about why. Well, for one, burnout. 2, mistrust. And 3, quiet quitting are caused by managers who lack emotional intelligence. Now, we all know that COVID changed everything. Entire workforces were uprooted into remote models where spontaneous brainstorming, whiteboarding sessions, and breakthrough connections were lost because they used to be in person. We also know that Zoom burnout became real. And so the leadership failure, well, too many leaders have become obsessed with the idea that if you work from home and you don't commute to an office, well, then you should always be vastly more efficient and always on in a remote setting, while neglecting the basic human need for social connection. The inability to read people, even over a Zoom call, and identify nonverbal cues has become a massive leadership blind spot. This is where AI and human connection intersect. So while AI can automate tasks and analyze data patterns, it cannot replace the nuanced understanding that comes from emotional intelligence. The more we rely on artificial intelligence for efficiency, the more we actually need emotional intelligence for effectiveness. So think about that just for a moment. I've spent 2 decades in legal software services, IT industries, managing teams under intense pressure with looming deadlines and critical deliverables, where in some cases the stakes couldn't be higher. And here's what I learned. When tensions exist in high pressure situations, you need to be able to ask yourself as a leader 3 questions. The first one, what is not being said amongst your team? 2, where is the trust breaking? And 3, how do we reset? When you possess the emotional intelligence to understand not just what people are saying, but also what they're not saying by reading their nonverbal behavior and deciphering the meaning between the lines in emails, you don't just finish projects on time, you finish them as one cohesive team. And that, my friends, is the difference between management and leadership. And the distinction is everything. So management focuses in on tasks, processes, and efficiencies. Leadership focuses on people, connection, and meaning. There's a very big difference. In our AI-enhanced world that we are all living in now, the technical management tasks are increasingly automated. So what remains distinctly human is the leadership capability to inspire, to connect, to guide people through uncertainty. That is the biggest difference between management and leadership. So there is another survey, Big Think Plus. It's a leading online learning platform focused on critical thinking and leadership development. So they went ahead and they conducted this very comprehensive survey, and it found that emotional intelligence is actually now the top indicator of leadership. Everything that Daniel Goleman said back in 1995. This makes perfect sense in a world where knowledge is becoming increasingly commoditized, especially with the advent of generative AI. But here is the crucial distinction. AI can analyze team sentiment across communication platforms. But a leader with emotional intelligence is needed to interpret the findings and take meaningful action. So again, technology can detect sentiment, but it cannot interpret the meaning behind it. And that is your job as a leader. You can run all your team's emails through AI and ask it to analyze sentiment. But what it can't do is tell you why your top performer is considering leaving the company, or what is really behind that slight change in the tone in the last 3 messages. That is a sweet spot between where human intelligence becomes irreplaceable. So what I want to talk about now is a framework. 3 emotional intelligence skills that define modern leadership. And the first one in that framework is self-awareness under pressure. So without question, the energy you bring, or the lack thereof, will always set the organizational tone. This is especially true in high-stakes moments. So before your next check-in meeting, take 60 seconds and become grounded. I'll tell you that one thing that I've benefited from over the years is meditation and breath work. And before you roll your eyes or dismiss this as new age nonsense, understand that this technique is backed by solid neuroscience. So the way this works is very simple. Deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It literally rewires your brain's stress response and improves decision-making under pressure. When pressure is high, I step away from my computer, close my eyes, and I take 3 deep breaths. And the way this works is that you breathe in fully, and just at the very top, when you think you can't take in any more air, take 1 more short breath in. And then slowly exhale out of your mouth until you have no more air to exhale. When you do this 3 times and open your eyes, I tell you, it is a magical reset. Neuroscientists refer to this as coherent breathing, and research indicates that it definitely does reduce cortisol levels and enhance cognitive functioning within minutes. So now number 2 in the framework, empathy that drives performance. So most leaders are dreadfully tone deaf on this topic, and it's costing them everything. They're so focused on deliverables and deadlines that they miss the fact that there is a human being behind the work. One of the most valuable leadership lessons I learned early in my career happened when I was frustrated about a project. I had sent multiple emails to a colleague who wasn't responding, so I told my manager about it. And my manager said to me, "Before you get upset with them, do you know what else is going on in their life?" Well, the reality was I did not. I had no idea, nor did I think that I needed to. So she suggested I call instead of sending any more emails. And so I did. And I discovered, well, that my colleague was dealing with sick children and she had serious health issues. Her world was falling apart. And here I was, adding to her stress with demanding emails about project timelines. And that moment changed everything for me. It taught me the importance of empathy. It taught me to ask about life, not just workload. It showed me that behind every performance metric is a human being with real struggles, fears, and challenges, and it sounds so common sense. But for so many leaders, it is not. Most leaders never, ever learn this lesson. They stay surface level, discussing only work inputs and outputs while overlooking the human inputs that really drive everything. So my action step for you in this second part of my framework is to use the first 5 minutes of your one-on-ones with your team to focus in on connecting with the person as a human being rather than just discussing the project. So number 3 in the framework, social skills in a digital world. Now, here's the reality most leaders refuse to face. You can be completely tone deaf about how others perceive you. This is a blindness that is going to destroy your leadership effectiveness faster than any technical incompetence ever could. So many people are now using generative AI as a therapy companion, if you read the headlines. They are utilizing this as a two-way dialogue with generative AI about their feelings. But AI can analyze your words while missing your emotional cues, facial expressions, or the true meaning behind your words, or I should say at least for now. You have to care enough to know how others read you. This is not optional. This is a crucial leadership competency. If you're not proactive about understanding how your team perceives the way that you communicate your energy and your presence, they will burn out and they will quietly quit. A powerful lesson came to me also years ago when I was sitting in a board meeting. After it ended, the CEO said to me, "Daniel, your nonverbal body behavior said that you were really disinterested." And I said, no, everything was fine. And he came back and said, "No, your nonverbal body behavior clearly showed you were unhappy and disengaged." And the truth, I was unhappy and I was disengaged. That was an incredible emotional intelligence view and read on his part. He read me very, very well. Leaders who cannot read the room and leaders who fail to understand how they're being perceived will ultimately fail, period. So your action step for this third part of the framework, review your last 10 instant messages or emails to members of your team. How are you coming across to others? Start asking for feedback. How am I coming across to others, and what energy do you think that I'm bringing? And maybe even run your own communications through generative AI and ask. So the business case, beyond business school and MBA training. An MBA teaches you to think critically and analytically. A law degree, like mine, also teaches analysis. However, analysis without connection can lead to cultural misalignments. It's important that I underscore that point one more time. Analysis without connection can lead to cultural misalignments. This is the fundamental flaw in traditional business education. We've been trained to optimize systems. We've been trained to optimize processes while ignoring the human operating system that makes everything work. You can have the most brilliant strategy, the most efficient processes, and the most advanced technologies. But if your people don't trust you, If your people don't feel seen by you, and your people do not believe that you care about them as individuals, none of it matters. You will fail. When you apply emotional intelligence, empathy, mindfulness, and authenticity in both in-person and digital conversations, you build a culture that thrives rather than withers. And the ROI is measurable, with benefits including higher employee retention, improved overall performance, stronger talent attraction, and increased revenue through the acquisition of more clients and projects from existing clients. So here's the ultimate test. Can you read the room? When a leader can't read the room, they fail. The leadership skill required more than any other today is emotional intelligence. Generative AI can help you understand how others may perceive you. It can help draft messages correctly. However, ultimately, you must be willing to put in the work to become more emotionally intelligent. The leaders who do this work are the ones who succeed. They are the ones who build teams with such loyalty and trust that if they lost their title today, that team would still follow them. If there's a silver lining in our current challenges, it's that Daniel Goleman, ahead of his time in 1995, prepped us for today. His groundbreaking work on emotional intelligence gives us the framework we need right now. We have to be open, receptive, and willing to learn. Human connection, human empathy, and human understanding are the things that differentiate us in an increasingly artificial world. So here are your next steps. If you are ready to develop the leadership skill that's worth more than an MBA, start here. Before your next check-in meeting, take 60 seconds to ground yourself with neuroscience-backed breath work. In your next one-on-one, dedicate the first 5 minutes to connecting with that person, not just the project. And tonight, review your last 10 digital communications and evaluate how you may be coming across to others. Because in a world of artificial intelligence, your emotional intelligence might be the most valuable skill you develop. And most of all, remember, leadership isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Take this lesson, put it into action, and continue setting the gold standard in your own life and at work. See you next time.